what's happening, but
Okay, so now it's December 12th of 2022. I'm telling you, these eye drops are giving me headaches. It's too much, right? You're not supposed to swallow it, but it goes into your eye, into the back of your nostrils, and you end up swallowing it. So I don't know how that works. Okay, so what's happening here is
using denial to improve or maintain well-being. And
I'm going to add this video that I'm listening to, not into my description box, but into the comment section, so that if you want, you can hear it from somebody else that's quote-unquote more even-keeled, professional, I guess you could say reasonable than me. I'm going to turn this off because I really do want to hear this, but I already kind of know what he's talking about, so hold on.
The balance of saying, okay, I see these issues, and how do I pivot myself to prepare? I think it's easier for a lot of us to just stick our fingers in our ears and close our eyes to what's happening, and it's tempting. As I pointed out earlier, we live in a time where we've got a lot of conveniences. It's easier to focus on having a good time all the time. And again, I say...
Okay, for whatever reason, the video that's converting over right now is 4.5 hours long. A lot of it was, well, half of it, I wouldn't say a lot of it. Half of it was ranting and just blowing off steam. And I don't know. Was I having a pity party? Was I feeling sorry for myself? I don't know. Was I standing up for myself? I don't know. I just know that I could hide the video away like a dirty secret, to protect the reputation of the workers within the healthcare system. In other words, don't poke the bear. I'm like, don't put up the video because you're just poking the bear. You know? Right? Peggy wants you to be more positive. If you just do positive, think positive, nothing but positive, your life will turn around and everything will be positive. Well, I wish that was true in the province of British Columbia, Canada, but in my opinion, it is not so. I can't change the narrative to protect other people's reputation when I find them to be threatening myself personally. Not once, not twice, but repetitively over a period of multiple years in terms of decades. Okay? Like, why is it my responsibility to... I don't want to say bury truth because everybody interprets truth differently. What my truth isn't necessarily what somebody else's truth is, because the other person will convince themselves that they're right no matter what. And I guess you could say the same thing is true with me, right? But I'm always on the defense of people. I'm always having to defend myself or my family or my circumstances or whatever, which puts me in a defensive versus being the offensive. I deal with people that are always, what? No, forget the word always. I deal with people who are oftentimes on the offensive, which puts me in a position of being defensive, where I have to defend my family, defend my children, defend my grandchildren, defend Uncle John, defend myself, and then, I guess, defend the community, being that I'm a quote-unquote community activist. Right? I'm trying to get motivated to get into these mulberries. Okay? No matter what. Okay? You know, Peggy, stay positive. I'm staying positive. Got a freaking headache. I'm frightened because I know I'm being gang stalked. I know people don't want to hear that because the superheroes wouldn't do such a thing. That's not what they're employed to do, right? Of course I'm getting cynical. I don't want to be cynical though. I want to be productive. That's a part of being positive, is by being productive, even when you not feel well. Okay, so I starting fresh, cleaned it, nice. Right. I'm gonna get into the 26 pounds of mulberries. I'm gonna start with the mulberries first. Oh yes, and I did. I broke down. I ordered 2, 4, 6, 8 more 1-gallon jars. I have to. It's just simpler, better, more proficient, protects the food longer. It's just better. But after that, what am I going to order? Coconut sugar? But that won't be until February or March or April. Or whenever. It will be after into the new year. And then, of course, I'm not going to be just satisfied with 5 pounds of coconut sugar. I'll order something else. 25 pounds of this and 20. I'll get my $150 worth of product to get my free delivery, so I get my money's worth, right? And then, but that's pretty much it, people. Like, once I clear this shit out, like, assuming that I can see even what I'm seeing now, I'm taking it to the next level. If that's not being positive in terms of like, okay, now we're going to start cooking with this stuff, and we're going to put together something that's nutritional, fairly high in calories, that's doable for children like Amari, or maybe the elderly, or whatever. What else can I do? Sit around and feel sorry for myself? I try not to feel sorry for myself, people. Okay? I so try. You don't know. But at the end of the day, you know, some of the shit that goes on in my life is completely unnecessary. And because I'm not completely naive, as in ignorant, as in don't know things, don't have wisdom, don't have life experiences, don't have book smarts, like just a dumb fuck, right? If I was just a dumb fuck, life would be grand. But the older you get, the wiser you get, the more on guard you become if you're the one that's always having to defend your family. It's not just defending myself, okay? It's defending my family. Maybe if I had a husband, some of that would have offloaded onto him, and I wouldn't be so stressed out. But that's not the case. Oh boy. So, do I upload this video? I tried to convert it over yesterday, and I don't know. My computer was getting right to the end of its hard drive, so I got up this morning and cleared out what I could on my hard drive to try and reconvert it over, because it's like 4.5 hours. I'm like, what the heck did you do in those 4.5 hours? That's a long-ass video. Who's going to watch that? And I'm like, oh, well, somebody will have it playing in the background. You can play it for a while, put it on, you know, stop, right? Go off, do whatever. You can come. That's what I do sometimes when, like, you know, like I'm listening to a video, right? You know, I turned it off, and later on after this, I'll turn it back on and I'll listen. Sometimes I sit and watch depending on what it is. And if I got to go take a break, I turn it off. And, well, I'm thinking, well, if that's what they want to do with my video, they can do that. For the ones that want to take freaking notes because they want to be on the offensive, well, you know, like, it's going to happen anyway. You see, that's the thing. If it's not going to happen over there, it's going to happen over there. If it's not going to happen over there, something shitty is going to happen over there, because there's, like, seriously something wrong with society. That's not my fault. I'm just trying to, I don't know, people. I'm just trying to make it so my kids can survive even for a little while longer after the fact of whatever's going to happen in the near future in regards to that manufactured poverty. that manufactured food deserts that are spreading, that manufactured dysfunction and whatnot. And you see, more reason to have people like paramedics be the scouts to capitalize and tap in on that dysfunction. Okay? Because I'm like, why do I keep having this conflict with paramedics as if I want to call them? But I don't have a choice, because if I choose not to call them in a situation where it's an emergency, I would become negligent. Okay? But it doesn't give them the right to overstep their authority and come in on the wrong foot in terms of, like I said in my video that's converting, you know, you either come to the house to do your job, or you come to the house to get what you want. Okay? Right? Now, Shamay was a big eye-opener, people. They didn't come to the house to do their job. They came to the house to get what they wanted. Because there's big dollars with dead bodies. That's why they're all over the place now. Okay? Somebody's getting rich off it. Okay? How these grunt workers, drones, perhaps you could even classify them as a slave themselves. Something. Capitalize and benefit from body snatching and knowing that what they're doing is wrong, but they do it anyway, versus being ethical and doing their job. Listen, I don't have to cover up that dirt. That's right, so that I can think and pretend that I'll be safe if I just stay quiet on it, and my family. So, in light of what's been going on with my channel all these years, and who's who, and, you know, these individuals, in a roundabout way, as a collective group, through their various agencies, they know, some of them come in and watch my videos, maybe not regularly, but they're keeping tabs on me, people, right? You know, they're being cagey, they're building their case, right? Right? You know, they're hoping that I'll go completely blind so that they can win by any means necessary. It doesn't matter how they play, as long as they play dirty pool, right? Because, you know, we're dealing with a corrupt government that is clearly corrupted its workforce, right? Put the onus where the onus belongs. It belongs on the government, because the government basically doesn't monitor their employees. It doesn't matter what sector they work in. And as a matter of fact, they reward them and they protect them. And that's what Eleanor Gilding showed us. Okay? It's not my place to protect Eleanor Gilding's reputation when she basically destroyed my life and my children's lives and got some of them murdered because of her freaking greed. Okay? And all her little minions that took the bribe that she paid them, whatever that bribe was, or threat, or coercion, or blackmail. Who knows how Eleanor got away with it? The point is that she got away with medically kidnapping Uncle John. Paramedics weren't involved in that one. They are completely at arm's length with that. As a matter of fact, they kind of did me a favor by telling Shamay, keep Uncle John's wallet. You don't want it going to the hospital. Because by having it go to the stay home, what it did is it exposed what Eleanor Gilding was up to, because she committed bank fraud. But you see, the government doesn't want to hold her to account, because they would be more interested in keeping her propped up as the epitome of what is right when it regards to wandering our halls when it comes to a hospital setting. Right? Because she's already a well-seasoned thief. They don't want to retrain another one if they don't have to. That's the way I interpret it, people. Okay? And it's not my responsibility to protect Eleanor Gilding's reputation any more than it is to protect corrupt paramedics within the system who body snatch for profit dead bodies as they play mind-effery boobery with the families in partnership with crooked cops, crooked healthcare professionals, and so on, and so on, and so on. And the ones that do this shit are choked that I talk about it, people. Right? But even if I didn't talk about it, people, they'd still work towards destroying my life because they've been doing it. You see? That's the thing. So when stuff happens like what just happened with Amari, right? With that paramedic walking in just so that she could say, oh yeah, I seen the clutter, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, well, you seen the clutter, but did you realize that, you know, I've been doing food prep, first of all, for 3 fucking years straight, just so that my family doesn't starve. Maybe you don't care if your family starves, or maybe you just food prep too, and you don't do videos, or you just do it, right? And you live in a nice big house, and you've got it all under control, and you know it's right. Or I don't know. All I know is they're not coming in to do their job, unless, of course, you want to say they're mandated to report. They're mandated to report that the house is crowded with things. Quote unquote, you're dealing with a hoarder. Well, if I'm dealing with a hoarder, if they're dealing with a hoarder, you know, they need to question why that's even happening in the first place, especially when you got big boxes of freaking food right up by the front door with laundry detergent and a big bag of rabbit food and tomato plants growing. Right? Or you come in and you see binder after binder after binder of court papers trying to stand and fight for justice so that maybe when you get old as a union worker in a paramedic field, you don't get medically kidnapped like Uncle John, be tucked away like a dirty secret and forgotten about after you were robbed blind, and then some immigrant came along and turned off your IV to take you out of your misery so that the truth could never be told. Right? 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 Like, I don't get how each and every union worker can all possibly think that they are safe to not be treated like Joan Duncan or John Duncan. For money. Nothing more but for money. But they do think they're safe. And therefore, they're overzealous with gang stalking, in my opinion, the targeting of a family, in my opinion, and trying to figure out ways how to exploit a vulnerable family so that somewhere in their group of friends, their group of alliance, in terms of that legion, however they're connected, can profiteer. Right? Which puts them in a position, when it relates to Mari, into being child traffickers. Versus coming in as paramedics, doing your job. Right? You want to come in and look around so that you can get my grandson apprehended because I've got shit scattered around right now. You don't want to acknowledge why. You just want to do that so that somebody in your freaking family line, your you know, long list of friends, can immediately get $3,000. Plus, their expenses paid for, tax-free, literally, because that's the way the government's got it set up for those kind of people. And you basically handed my grandson over to a bunch of crooked doctors that are going to do what they want, when they want. And nobody will be held to account when he dies, or if he gets injured by them. And somehow they get rewarded for this. Or they're told, well, if you want to stay a paramedic, you have to go in there and do this first. Okay? You have to. Otherwise, we're firing you. So what? They're held to being blackmailed? Like the mask? If you don't wear the mask, you're fired? If you don't get the jab, you're fired? Are they so used? That's what I mean. Maybe they're slaves and they just don't see themselves as slaves. Right? But the problem with that, though, is many of them enjoy what they do. They enjoy the position of authority. They enjoy exerting their authority and having... When these people came, okay, this time there were women. And, like, they blew me off like I was nothing, people. Like, who's the one who looks after Amari the most? Well, I am. Like, they kept asking me that, as if it went in one ear and out the other, and whatever I was saying in terms of regards to me was insignificant. Right? And they're like whispering, following me in, and like I find that to be very disturbing, people, because you have to take it out into the wider community where, with this manufactured poverty. Listen, it's one thing. Oh, listen, it's one thing to be picking on the welfare mom with the no husband, the unwed mother. First, it was the unwed mother that everybody scorned in society. So much so that back in the day, they used to literally take babies away from unwed mothers because unwed mothers supposedly were unfit because they didn't have the man in the house to protect them. Right? And then the war came and the government came about with the welfare system, mainly for white women in the United States of America, because of a lot of their husbands died in war and blah and blah, and then it switched over to that manufactured poverty where certain ethnic groups, and mainly blacks in the United States of America, were targeted and formulated into that manufactured poverty where it's like generational now, right? And then of course there's people like me, right? Unwed mother, just because, when my kids were growing up, I was an unwed mother, and you don't think I wasn't mistreated through the public school system or that, they're frowning down on you. And then when you get into that organized religion, like the Punjabis, they frown down on you. Well, why, Punjabis, why aren't you married? They literally ask me, why are you not married? Why did you not get married? Well, maybe because I didn't want to get beat. Maybe because I didn't want a man cheating on me all the time. Maybe because he was a bum. Who knows? At first he was good, and then he turned out to be just whatever. Right? Maybe he was lousy in bed. Maybe he had a little dick or a crooked dick. Who knows? I didn't get married, though. But I didn't turn my back on my kids. Okay? I did what had to be done in terms of being a parent. But that's not good enough. No, because for whatever reason, a lot of people seem to put self-worth with a marriage that is co-signed through religion in order to control that particular ethnic group of people, to which, instead of marrying for love, many of them are forced into arranged marriages just to keep up with the Joneses and the perception of whatever it is that they're trying to portray out in society as in, well, we're better than you because we get married. We don't have kids until we get married, right? So, it's just, anyway. But now, they're not just going after the single moms. They're not going after the bastard kids. Okay? Right? With single moms comes the bastard kids. Right? You can only have a worthy child if you're married. Okay? Remember those days? Right? Okay, we were the easy target. Okay? We were the dog that you kicked down the road. Right? Everybody, and then it kind of spilled over to the homeless. And now we're kicking those dogs down the road. Well, what's happening now, though, is that manufactured poverty is getting much more wider and is affecting a lot more families. A lot of the married couples that had houses and had jobs and had futures and had, but are now losing it all. Okay? As people like the ambulance attendants are being called, because with that manufactured poverty comes ramifications, more domestic violence, more drinking, more drug abuse, more child abuse, more violence in the home, more neglect, more. So yeah, there's a fine line in there in terms of if you're coming in as a public servant and you don't know, first of all, what you're walking into, right, normally, right? So, of course, they're going to be looking for key signs, right? But it's not like these people don't freaking know people. Right? You know, it's they run the house like oh, I'm just so angry with it all. Because they're still targeting my family, people. And not everybody in that group is ethical, okay? They're just not. Some of them are child trafficking because Amari represents way too much money, whether it's for a foster care parent or some crazy fucking doctor that wants to sign them up to a new research study, like with Elon Musk and those brain implants. You know, oh, well, Amari would be the perfect candidate, because if we could get Amari to stand up by zapping his brain, well, wouldn't that just be a great grand thing? Yeah, but at what cost? Okay, because these brain implants that they've been putting into mice and all this other shit, they've been like destroying these animals' brains, like to where there's nothing left. And now they're wanting to experiment on humans. And because our governments aren't doing their job by protecting the public, they're going to allow it to happen. And then it's going to be swept underneath the rug because people are going to be too afraid to talk about it because they don't want the paramedics or whoever walking through the door targeting them like I get targeted. Let me check on Amari. You see? Let me go check on Amari. What you do? Where's that bottle? Do you know how many times in a day I check on Amari? Andre on watch? But it would never be enough. You see, that's the thing. For some people. For some people. So, anyway, I'm not trying to have a pity party here. Far from it. But I can't change the narrative. I just explain what happens. And then I analyze it. And I compare it to other things that have happened. And then I can clearly see the pattern. And I can see it widening out into the community, into more households, whether they're vulnerable or not. But obviously the more vulnerable are going to be more targeted because they can't fight back. They can't get those lawyers. But you see, even if you could afford a lawyer, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars just standing up to fight for your family, to get your kids back, to get your life back, to get your job back, to get your freaking house back, to get whatever it was that these individuals took from you. Because for some reason, they're enslaved by their employer, the quote-unquote government of the day, wherever it is that they're located, right? And that's wrong. That's wrong. You know? I told Greta, this house is too small, right? And, you know, to have a bunch of people trampling through with their big, you know, whatever, right? It's impractical, right? It's nothing fucking personal. She agreed with me. With Amari came more shit. When I put the order in for his drinks and his diapers and the diaper wipes, I get like 10 boxes coming to my door once fucking a month. Sorry, boo-boo a month. Okay? Boxes, people. Boxes of diapers, boxes of drinks, another box of diaper wipes. And I'm like, oh my God, where am I going to put all these freaking boxes? And that's just for 1 month. They offer me a 3-month supply. And I'm like, no, I deal with it 1 month at a time. Right? You know? Right? Can't take too many of them downstairs because it pisses my son off. Right? So I'm hiding a box. You know, I got boxes in bathroom of diapers, and you know, I just whatever, right? Like, you know, like this, and this is the thing. They come, they see why you got all these boxes. Well, I don't know. Maybe because my grandson was injured at the time of his birth and nobody wants to take responsibility for that. Instead, they're too busy trying to figure out how they could take him away from me so that they could profiteer after what they've done to him. Right? I don't want to harp on it. I don't want to dwell on it. But when shit happens randomly like that, you know, and it's clear to see what's going on. Like, I am convinced, the more I think about it, people, I am convinced, not this time, but the last time when he went to the hospital and they sedated him and they kept him sedated for like hours and 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 hours, as they were giving him antibiotics and antiviral and all this other crap. They were stalling for time because the social worker called me up and wanted to come over here right away. The after-hours social worker, right? And I'm like, well, no, I'm going to the hospital. My grandson's in the hospital, right? I didn't go in the vehicle. First of all, it was that big pissing contest, so they didn't invite me in. And I had to make, had to make arrangements for you know, Andre and whatnot. Either or, I told him, no, I'm going to the hospital, right? Tisha was already there, so it wasn't like he was by himself. And you know, and well, can't I come now? And I'm like, well, no, you can call me in the morning, because I didn't know people. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I get to the hospital, he's all sedated and stuff, and I slept there the night, and I spent the day, and then, you know, I don't know, I came back, and either or, like, they were stalling for that. They did that because they wanted to keep him, people. That was their way of, I don't know what it was. I just know it was wrong. It was wrong what they did. It was unnecessary. Maybe for a little while, like, okay, the ambulance came, you know, they sedated him, okay, fine. They actually got it in an IV this time. Last time they put it in his freaking bone. Whatever. Didn't even know you could do that, but apparently you can. And we weren't even in the hospital for, oh, I don't know. I don't really look at the time, but what, 4 or 5 hours or something like that? Maybe, I don't know. Right? They did. The point is they didn't keep him sedated. They didn't start pumping him full of antibiotics and antiviral just so they could wait for the social worker to come back to give them the green light as to what to do next. Because if he would have woke up and been fine, they would have had nothing to hold against me. You see, that's the thing. Is my mind overthinking? Perhaps, but I don't think so, people. Because if they would have just gave him a mild sedation like they did this last time they took him, and then turned it off, instead of start pumping him up with this and doing this and blood tests and this and heart, well, they had a heart monitor on, but you get my point. To drag it out for over 24 hours, to keep him sedated for 24 hours so that they could figure out how to sock it to me, basically. If they would have just gave him the sedation and then, you know, started weaning him down and stuff, like they did this last time, we would have been out of there in a short period of time. But that's not what happened. They were trying to build a case against me. And they used Amari to do it. Do you see? And the taxpayers paid for that. Right? But they couldn't do it again this time. because it would be too noticeable in his files, right? So they just sedated him, right? Let it wean himself out, right? And we came home. But maybe next time they might do a repeat like they did last time. As they got the social worker chasing me now. Because I've got new boxes of something on the floor. Or I got more paper or laundry or fucking who knows. A bag of freaking, what is that called? Recycling that Andre didn't take out to the recycling bin, but yet he's running back and forth, kicking the bag, shit's falling out of the bag, so you walk, you're stepping on freaking recycling shit because Andre didn't take out the recycling bag yesterday or last night or whatever. Right? You see, it could be as simple as that. I got boxes of diapers in my bathroom. I got potatoes in a basket there with my clothes in the bathroom. Because I'm pulling out shit from my sewing room so I can actually maybe sew something before I go completely blind. So it's going that way. You know, it's like Marina was in here the day before and we ripped up this and I'm moving, ripping, pulling out shit. Gave her a whole stack of fucking school stuff, people. She got like a whole freaking stack full of homeschool stuff. But I had to move things around and scatter it in order to get what she needed, right? Because it's, it's all over. It's some over there, some over here, some over there, some downstairs, right? It's a mix, it's right, it's some over there. So we went from spot to spot to spot, and she basically chose what she wanted to do for Andre, with these manipulative school tools, school books, school whatever, all school stuff, photocopies of school paper to do work, so that she didn't have to photocopy herself because it's already been photocopied when my kids were little. So, of course, things are scattered, right? I haven't had a chance to put it away yet. Personally, I haven't really been feeling that well. Do you think that they understand that? No, that's not what they're there for. They're not to understand your circumstances. They're there to catch you in the fucking act of doing something wrong. And they will manufacture and make it so it happens. I don't know. So, but this is where you just gotta have that heart of steel, I suppose. So I'm more adamant to get on with this because, I'm, like I said, these supplementary drinks, if I can get them down to half, well, that would save the government a bit of money now, wouldn't it, right? But I'm not doing it for that reason, people. I'm doing it to bring in the more organic, homemade, wholesome food, right? That's hopefully will, I don't know, it might even slow down the seizures. I'm not saying, you can't ever not stop his medication, but, because, So anyway, I'm going to put that, I'm like, oh, you really want to put up this 4.5 hour video with you ranting and going on and yelling at Peggy, and picking on the paramedics. Do you really want to poke the paramedics, piss off the paramedics even more? Because I tried so hard. I do. When I come into contact with these individuals, I don't care who they are, I try and just go into the and be neutral. I try not to let my whatever it is, fear, paranoia, anger, disgust, rage, mistrust, all that negative loosh harvesting energy, I try not to let that energy overtake the situation at hand. I try and let, I guess you could say, these individuals navigate within their profession without me interrupting what they need to do in a professional manner. And all I can do, people, is hope that they're going to do it in a professional manner versus plotting and scheming and trying to attack me and disenfranchise my family even more, even though that's basically been the pattern all these years. And with the sign of the times getting worse, of course, there's more urgency because, you know, that's all falls under that depopulation or the, you know, the corralling of the herd and getting everybody under one thumb and, you know, and then, like, that's what brings them down to some kind of, like, and when I go into the hospital, they'll ask me to wear a mask and, you know, and I'm like, no, right, you know, whatever I took and I hold it, well, you need to put it on. I said, well, no, I have a mask exemption, but it got stolen last time I was here. I'll just keep it like this, you know, or whatever. Then they kind of leave me alone. The Royal Columbian Hospital don't even bug me. Surrey was a little more, everybody running around with their freaking masks. And I, you know, at the end of the day, I don't care who they are, what they are. I feel so sorry for each and every one of them that are being basically forced to wear these masks. And I can hear them struggling when they talk through them, people. Right? In terms of some of them are out of breath. You know, they're literally struggling with this shit. But what? How can I help them? What, write a letter to the government? You think the government's going to care what I have to say? Hell no. So, but I let them know. I feel so sorry for you. You know, you shouldn't have to be faced with this, right? In terms of forced to be wearing the mask. If you choose to, that's, as an adult, that's your business. But, you know, and then to hear them struggling with it yet, oh, it makes me so mad. So mad. Because I'm trying to be neutral and fair and you know, because ultimately I am a very positive person. I've been trying to be positive forever, but it never gets me anywhere. You see, that's the thing, because people take advantage of nice people. They see it as a weakness and they think they can walk all over us and abuse us and hurt us and destroy us, right? You know, because the bullies are stronger, right? You know, right? Anyway, let me turn this off and just get on with what I got to do for a bit, and then maybe I'll come back and say something or whatever. I mean, I'm not doing anything special today. I'm just going to start filling up these trays. I got to get on it. Oh, I did get my raisins, so maybe we'll take a boo at that, and then we'll end this video, okay? But I have to do the first half a box. I got 2 boxes of mulberries, and these trays take a half a box, so I'm 4 times I have to do mulberries in the dehydrator in order to get what I want to be able to put away, right? And we know we've got 8 more jars coming, and that should be it, okay? Unless, of course, I go off and do something foolish in February or March or whatever, right? We'll see what happens. I don't have no plans, though. Right? And then I got the dates. And I got the raisins. So honestly, I kind of want to look at them. So after I get these done, the first batch of mulberries in their trays and in the dehydrator, maybe what I'll do is I'll bring out these dates and these raisins. I'll open up the boxes and we'll just take a boo, because that's basically why I ordered the jars, because, you know, I want them preserved nicely. Right now, as for the raisins, well, I don't know. Maybe I'll dehydrate half the box and keep half the box fresh in a jar and put them underneath here for Amari. And I told Tisha I want to make raisin pie, and she goes, "Ew, raisin pie!" And I'm like, yeah, wait till I make it. It'll be so good. She'll like it. And of course, I want to put some of these dates in a jar, but I'm also going to make date sugar too. I'm going to take half a box, put them in the jar. I've got these ones right here that were sitting underneath there for a long time. So I'll probably end up cutting up these ones, because these ones are older. I don't know yet. Right? These are older, right? So definitely 1 jar fresh underneath there. These ones, I'm not sure if I'm going to make date sugar with them, but the other half for sure I'm going to make date sugar, because, you know, you compact it good and it's good, but it takes a long time to dehydrate dates. Then I've got still the golden berries there. So I'm going to be dehydrating berries and raisins and dates for probably about a month, which means there's an excess of things kicking around in an environment that's really no bigger than a small rancher in terms of floor space. Right? So, I'm just saying. So I'm just gonna keep plugging forward, and you know, I put the video up not because I'm trying to poke the bear, not that I'm trying to provoke the paramedics to come back and mistreat me even more, right? You know, I'm not saying they're mistreating my son or my grandson. I'm not saying that, people, but definitely mistreating me. Okay, not to say that I'm not worried for Amari because of, you know, whatever, but I don't dwell on it. Right? I don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, I hope it doesn't or wish that it doesn't happen. You know, I try and give people the benefit of the doubt. They know, they basically know that if something goes wrong, I'll go off like a rocket. So it's not like they want to have it happen on purpose, point blank, up in your face. But that's not to say that some of them aren't conniving behind your back to make the shit happen so that the household continues to fall apart. It's called imploding in from the imploding from the inside. Okay? You know, and I don't know. Like, I know Suri for, you know, has a lot of drug issues because of just the area in terms of the poverty and the influx of the drugs being pumped into the community, and, you know, with the housing crises. And so I can understand them coming to a house and being on guard, looking for signs of dysfunction, I guess you could say, that could jeopardize children. Like, I understand that, right? But I don't think that should be the precedent. And to me, it just feels that that's the precedent. They're not coming here to do the job. They're coming, well, that's their job, though. They're mandated. That's how they justify it. That's how they make excuses for it. That's why they allow it to continue. But people are taking advantage of it, and then that's how the criminals come in and will exploit the situation for profit. And then it goes into child trafficking. And we know how that goes. It's not just the foster care parent who benefits. It's the lawyers that benefit. It's the justice system that benefits. It's the social services that benefit. It's the doctors, as these kids are being plugged into that system over there, benefit. But it's not the children that benefit, people. Unless, of course, they're really coming from an abused home. In that situation, you know, I would never say, don't do what you're doing if the child is severely being abused. But that's not normally the case, right? And they're just being overzealot with shit. Okay? Because God forbid, I'm not in the mood to be poking the bear so that they come back bigger and badder and more hurtful the next time I have to call them. Because more than likely, I will have to call them. Okay? Like, this is going to be an off and on thing with Amari. I think, right? Even with the medication, you know, right? Who knows? Like, you just don't know, right? I don't know. That's why it's even more important that I stay focused and just, right, and work on this, because this food will help to build his immune system and, you know, keep him healthy and just whatever, and maybe put other diseases off on the burner, like he won't develop diabetes. Could you imagine if he developed diabetes? Oh my God. That would be like catastrophic. That would be terrible. You know, one day you're calling because he's having a seizure, next day you're calling because he's crashing because of something to do with diabetes. I mean, like, come on. Right? That's what I mean. Like, you know, I can't convince myself that I'll never, because as it is, I don't ever want to call him again. I don't. But I have to be brave. And I have to face them. right? And the only way I can do that is just keep doing what I'm doing. And eventually, you know, how do they say that? Change what you can change, right? In terms of if you're stuck in a rut, or you know how they say you get stuck in a rut or whatever it is, well, you know, you can make change like this kitchen. Like, I'll be so glad when I leave this kitchen with my no porch. Other than my kitchen is my porch. Okay? Or anything else that goes on in this house. Okay? But I can't leave yet. And I am grateful that I have a kitchen. It's just, it's not an easy kitchen to work in. Right? This is where, instead of settling for that, it's like, no, Judy, come on. Just do what you gotta do, and then, you know, work your way out of it, right? You can change things as you go to make it better. It'll never be perfect, but there's things that you can do to change your environment to make it better while you're in it, right? Versus just sitting there and, oh, I hate this environment, and, you know, and I'm like, you know, yeah, I get those days, but no, I'm working on changing it. That's why I'm kind of going through my cupboards and trying to think about how I can make things more proficient. My pot, my big pot, you see, if they would have came and looked at, why is that pot on the floor with the vacuum sealer on top of it? Like, what's the matter with this woman? You know? Well, that's because I just used that pot not even like a week ago, to which ended up just being raccoon food and cat food because the burner was too low. And so by the time I went to go check on it, no, it wasn't anything I wanted. And now I'm like, well, do I take this pot back downstairs? Or do I just let them have the freaking kitchen and all the cupboards in it, and maybe try and find a spot for it up here. Only I don't know where. Right? So it's just sitting there. And the vacuum sealer's on top of the pot right there. Only because there's still jars that I'm going to be vacuum sealing. But before I do that, I want to do these mulberries. Because I didn't do all the jars yet. Do you think a paramedic's going to care about that? Do you think a paramedic's going to care about that? Now, all they see is a big pot on the floor with a vacuum sealer on the floor, not understanding why it's on the floor. Well, that's because I don't have enough room in my kitchen, that's why. And I'm in the middle of using it. You've seen my videos. How many times do I go up and down, up and down, up and down, bringing, and then my pressure canner is over there on the floor. Right? I signed up with the Christmas Bureau this year. I guess it's going to be a pub that's sponsoring us, right? I'm poor. I don't go to the food bank. I don't get little extra things. You know, I'm in high debt, so I don't necessarily feel bad about it. And I do appreciate it. It makes me feel slightly loved once a year. Not so abandoned from my community once a year. In other words, I really do appreciate it. So before I put that pot away, or even my pressure canner, I'm waiting to see if they're going to come with a food hamper. Because if they come with a food hamper, they're going to come with one or two things. They're either going to come with a gift card for a grocery store, or they're going to come with a food hamper. And I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter to me, right? You know I like food, right? Be thankful that somebody's even considering to give you something, right? So, of course, they'd probably come with a ham or a turkey or something like that. Well, before I cook it up and make a big dinner, I would probably go out of my way to can it. I have the jars. I still have the turkey that I wanted to can, but it's frozen, and I'm not doing that right now. But if they come with the turkey, well, guess what? That turkey is going into that pot that's right there on my floor. It's going back on the stove. I'm not going up and down the stairs anymore, people. Right? And because we're starting fresh, I'm going to make sure I make a really deep, rich turkey broth. And I'm going to can it. And even if they don't come with a turkey, I still have my other turkey, to which I'm going to be doing in the next week or two, after I get some of this other stuff out of here. So I'm going to be doing this food shit for a month or two yet. And with it comes big pots, strainers, jars, pressure canners, and then of course the dishes are piling up, and you know, just whatever, right? Laundry, and so anyway. So that's yeah. So let me come back. We're going to keep this video short, not a 4.5 hour video, okay? And I'm going to do the mulberries, get them on the tray, and then just for fun, bring these boxes out, and we're going to look at these dates, and we're going to look at these golden raisins, and we're going to taste them, and we're going to look at the saltine raisins, and we're going to see what the difference is, and then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with them. Well, I'm going to wait till my jars come. See, I had to order jars, but I kind of got them. Well, I got them a little cheaper than I normally get them, and I bought them in packets of 2 to get that discount. Plus, they come with muslin little cloths and, you know, a little scrub brush. So I'm getting a little more for my value in terms of spending money. And then once that's done, I'm pretty much good, people. And then we can change the narrative and get into something else. So I'll be back. Okay, here we go.